It is Q&A time. Are you ready, Alberto?
Ready?
Okay, we're ready for your questions. So I hope you put some questions in there.
Don, we'll start actually. So you're an alumni of the program.
I am.
What are the three things that you remember most or you cherish most about your experience?
So many, but I'll pick three. I'll answer three. One, I would say the confidence that I got while I was at Stanford at the fellowship to know what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. Really focus on that. And it helped me throughout my career to really be more intentional about what I was doing in my career. Second, the amazing cohort that we have. I am still in touch with a number of people in my class, and it's been a while, but from Denmark, from Minneapolis, from Kansas City, from all over, from Kenya. And so these are people that are still in my life, and they are friends and colleagues and people I can rely on. And we just have that bond that's lasted for years. And that happens every year. I think third, as I'm looking out here at the Stanford campus in my office, is the amazing connection to Stanford that you have for the rest of your life, really. So you're here, you're finding out and meeting people, researchers, just opening your mind to learning. And so that's a lifelong learning that just continues. So those are three things.
Now, did you gain confidence?
Yes, I remember thinking I was a little intimidated at the beginning about this, it's a very Stanford thing, which is this imposter syndrome. But you start to realize, actually, I know what I'm doing, or at least I'm going to learn what I'm doing. I'm surrounded by smart people who are going to help me, and I gained a lot of confidence to go forward and do things that I wanted to achieve in journalism.
Yeah, and I'm going on 5 years here, so five cohorts, and I definitely see the confidence that people walk away with.
Yeah, that's the word that everybody says when they come out of this fellowship.
Great. So we have one question that I think you addressed a little bit at the start of the presentation. So just in case people missed that, and it's really about the application. So the question is, when reviewing applications, do you focus more on the specific project idea or the applicant's personal story and motivation behind their work?
Right. Good question. So really, it is a package, right? And we want to hear your story and how it connects you to the idea, the focus that you want to bring to Stanford. So this is not a grant application where here's my project idea and I have to deliver on that. It's about you as a professional, as a person. So thinking about how your focus that you want to pursue at Stanford is really tied to your journalism, your life, your motivations, your passions.
Yeah, and I share with prospects that it really should be kind of a whole story about who you are, what your experience has been, and how it ties to the future. I think sometimes people just answer the questions individually, but we really should be able to kind of tell the whole story based on how you've answered the questions, because that also allows us to understand how you think, how you approach things, and specifically because every year we do a program that's the same but very different, it helps us get insights as to how we're going to design the cohort experience that year.
Yeah, we want to get to know you. We're in your application, so help us understand why you want to do this and why at Stanford and why now.
Why now is the main reason.
Yeah.
We're in crisis, and so whatever we can do, right?
Yeah, good.
We keep getting this question about recommendations, and we always state that we don't need recommendations at the start of the application process. Tell us a little bit about why the behind the reasons for that.
Sure. For people who applied maybe in the past or just think of other kinds of programs, sometimes you need recommendation letters. We do not need letters, first of all, so no worries about that. We do ask for 3 references, recommenders. Name how they know you and a way to contact them in case we want to, but we don't contact everyone. It depends on what our questions still are as we're going through the application selection process. So pick 3 people who know you well. I've seen some kind of funny ones over the years where people pick like the president of a country because they thought it was a big name, or somebody they met once. So don't do that. Pick people who really know you, so that if we do contact them, they can really explain why you're great for this program.
Yeah, and I recommend that you pick people that also can speak to what you're trying to do,
Yeah,
especially if you have a big vision about what you want to do,
yeah,
and someone knows that you have the capacity or the ability to
yeah,
really contribute that way. If they can
yeah.
speak to that, that I think will be something that will add value to your application.
Yeah, and these are professional references, by the way. It's not your mom. I laugh, but sometimes people do that. My sister really knows me well. Well, okay, that's nice, but these are professional references. Yeah.
And speaking of that, there's a question here about are the projects, and again, we've stressed the word projects for a while, so I
Yeah,
know
we
it's
have. So
hard for people
yeah.
to make that shift from project to focus. But are the projects that you're looking for rather for you, are they personal and visionary, or are they practical applications that you want?
So what you want to work on at Stanford should be something, first of all, you're passionate about, not we're passionate about. Don't try to guess what we want, first of all. But secondly, how is this going to help the journalism ecosystem? And how is it going to help your community and your journalism? So it's both, could be visionary, but really thinking of how you are practically going to put this into work at some point. It doesn't have to be all, and it probably won't be done during your fellowship year finished. You'll be exploring it, you'll be testing, and then many, many fellows take this out and create new things, get new leadership roles, the next year, 18 months out. That's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
one of the coolest things to see is that fellows leave, and even 2 years later, 3 years later, they're like, "I that session really sparked this idea. I've been thinking about it. Now I've launched this, or I'm looking into this job." So I think
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah. I was going to say real quick, sorry, I interrupted you. I was thinking, one of the ways that people can find out about what people are working on is our Medium posts, right? So we require fellows to write at least two require Medium posts on Medium about what they're working on and their explorations. And so it's a really great way to see concrete evidence of what people are thinking and working on, and the array of things that people have done. Since it is a little hard probably as an applicant to go, okay, so what kinds of things would you do at Stanford as a JSK fellow? So check out our Medium publication, and it's on our site. Pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and I think also it's important not to be intimidated by what people are writing, meaning that if they're already working on that, that you can't work on that.
Right.
Because we look at all of this as a collective. It's not based on competition, but collaboration.
Yeah.
And so if people are working on something or want to work on something, we also connect you with fellows that have already done some of that work so that there is cohesion. And it is definitely a community environment, not an individual environment. Tell us about the one rule that you have throughout all of this that's important for people to know.
Yeah. So our rule here is no brilliant jerks. Because if you're a jerk, how brilliant are you really? Uh, our program and our culture is really of collaboration, of cooperation. Certainly, we have might have some differences of opinion on things and have civil conversations about those. But it is really not an environment that maybe some of you have been used to for a while in some newsrooms that are kind of tough places. So it's the no brilliant jerk rule.
Yeah, and I think that also again goes to support our community approach to
Hmm.
work. This is like you mentioned earlier, this is not about you as an individual, but it's about a cohesive collective. If we're going to tackle the problems that journalism is facing, there's not one person that can solve this, and it's not going to happen in one year.
Right.
It's on a continuum. So let's talk a little bit about the resources that people can tap into at Stanford, which is one of the questions that's come up.
Sure. So as a JSK fellow, you get to be at Stanford as an adult, not as an 18-year-old student who's trying to go for a degree. So that opens up a lot of doors for you and a lot of freedom. So you can certainly sit in on classes, and there are some fabulous ones, but you're not taking those classes to get a degree. So you get to take from them what you want. You also, we're known on campus. we've been here for quite a while, and a lot of fellows have explored a lot of corners of campus. So you can tap into professors and researchers. There's more than 100 research labs, A to Z here. And so meeting with those folks over coffee, over lunch, maybe joining some events at a lab. So those are some things. We have a ton of speakers coming to campus. You could just spend your whole time going to great conversation speeches and seminars that are here on the campus. We have sometimes you'll see wow, what are all those flags on the cars in front of the campus today? Oh, there's the president of Ukraine. So there will be a lot of that as well. So there's all those things, and then tapping into your cohort and your advisor. So I have never had an experience before I was a fellow having somebody really care about me and my career in the way that it happened when I was at Stanford as a fellow. And that's what we want to create for you.
Yeah, and when we say that to fellows, right, we say that you're the project in a sense. This is about you. People really don't know what to do with themselves. They kind of wonder.
Yeah.
Um, Now, one of the things that we see happening is people get so anchored on the classes that they have to take, and we say that the answers to what you're discovering are not just going to happen in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
What do we mean by that?
So, as I said, there's fabulous classes here, but when you're coming with a focus to help journalism, you probably aren't going to find the answer to it in a class. You're going to be informed and certainly educated on topics by being in classes. You'll learn a lot more about what Stanford students are like.
Right.
But you're going to find that it's more fruitful for you to tap into many things on campus, not just classes. We do the workshops that we're doing for you, finding, your cohort's going to have some great wisdom in the room to tap into that. That was really the case for me when I was a fellow too, is I was thinking about being an editor, and I kind of hadn't really had any great editors, but I was seeing these examples in my class of how that leadership role could be done in a really humane and smart way. So I think it's really the mix of things. So the answer is probably not found in a class.
Yeah, and we also expect fellows to be reporters still, right? They have to take the initiative to find out what is here, because we provide guardrails, but we're not their boss. So they really need to kind of maximize what's on campus, and we're not going to feed that to them. That's why we say it's helpful for you to know what you're coming into, who you want to meet, what you want to explore, because that's going to be the same spirit of the fellowship when you're here. There are things that we do, and if you want to maximize the experience, you have to take that initiative.
Yeah, so be a reporter when you're here. We do a pretty intense orientation to get you set about being on campus and how to connect to campus. And then it's your playground to go connect you and being a reporter and finding out what's out there.
Now, pivoting a little bit, we have a question here about family and the culture that we provide for families here. Tell us a little bit about from your experience, because this has been really a part of the fellowship for at least the last dozen years, right?
It's been the case since really we started, and it continues. And that is, I'm sure if some of you applied for other kinds of programs, many of them were about you and your application and your fellowship or your grant. And our program is really taking into account the whole person. And so to do that, there's a great opportunity, which is you can bring with you your spouse or partner if you have one, and they can participate in many, many parts of our program. They can sit in on many classes at Stanford, not everyone. There are some parts of the campus that are not open, but a number of classes. They can come to almost all of our speakers and events and workshops, except for the few where we are making you work and they don't need to do that work.
You say that they have the best deal, right?
Oh, they have the best deal. Yeah, I would
maximize.
say, yeah. And we call them JSK affiliates. And I think sometimes the affiliates do have the best deal. They can do whatever they want. They can go to things, but they don't have to do, the expectations that we have. But also, so it's nice to have some for some couples, it's the only time in many years that they get to spend some time together, quality time. And maybe they take a class together, they get to go off and bike on campus together. And then for kids, it is super cute to see kids from around the world, some of them who don't all speak the same language, playing together, being together, and they come away from this experience remembering, if they're old enough, Stanford and being in this great environment. And so we have events occasionally for the whole family, some picnics. We did a great bowling. It was really funny, kind of retro bowling the other day. So having your family here with you is a key part because we really think if you're going to have your whole family, you're just going to the experience is going to be better for you and you're going to be more successful. So it's certainly nice and friendly, but it's very practical. We think you should be here and be able to focus on things by having everybody with you. So, and your spouse and partner could also sometimes can't come, and that sometimes happens, but they could come occasionally. That's fine too.
And I think something we've learned also from our fellows is that the family is a part of your application process too. One of our fellows shared a story or a video actually of when the whole family was there when he hit the submit button,
Right.
which was really cool. And it is an important decision as a family to make. So
Right.
again, we want you to maximize that time here and be your whole self.
Yeah.
Um, there's a question here about the selfie video, which I know that we both love as a part of the application process. Is there something that's important for them to really focus on within that time? Are we looking for specific things for them to share?
So the selfie video, if you've done it before, has changed. The prompt has changed to focusing on what you want to be doing in the near future, in the next few years. And really, a lot of the selfie video purpose is for us to get a look at you and say hi and to hear in your voice what you want to be doing in the future in journalism, because this is a program that is not looking backwards, but looking forward.
Now, more and more tools are out there, AI tools specifically.
Yeah.
And can you use AI to do your selfie video or help with the application?
So, okay. So let's talk about AI. So AI is a thing. It's been out there. This is, I think, our third year of requiring an AI disclosure in your application. And so we have become more specific as AI has become, more useful, and also a little fraught in some situations. So you can use AI if you disclose. So targeted use of AI is okay. Some tools to help you with, within certain guidelines. And so you just need to be transparent about how you're using it. Here's a couple acceptable uses as a brainstorming tool to help you organize your thoughts, as an editing tool. So some of you are in maybe Grammarly also. But here's what you cannot do. Do not solely have AI generated responses to the application questions. And using AI to translate an application from another language into English is not allowed. So whatever you are going to do, if you're going to use it as with Grammarly or editing or brainstorming, it's a pretty good brainstorming tool I found. Let us know. So say what you've done and disclose and say what tool and why.
I think also a disadvantage when you really rely on just AI is especially when you see the video, the selfie video. And when we see that the style of writing in the application doesn't really match how you communicate, or even in some of the international cases that the English skills aren't the same as where they need to be, it really kind of sends us a message about how seriously you took this process.
Yeah. And it's kind of boring. So be yourself.
Be yourself, absolutely. Your authentic self, not what you think we want you to be.
Yeah.
It's super important. Now, there's a question about folks from the business side of journalism. Are they eligible to apply?
Yes. If you are supporting journalism, and there are many ways to do that, you are eligible to apply. Yes.
Great. Okay. We have another question about Is there a particular aspect of journalism that JSK tends to prefer, i.e., culture versus investigative versus daily news?
No, we don't have quotas for different kinds of journalism or things that we prefer. I would say that journalism needs great leadership in important areas. So that's just thinking about what impact you're going to try to have on the world with your journalism. So no, not a particular focus. We do, I mean, investigative is important. Local news is important. They're all, global journalists who are at risk are important. So come with whatever is your area of focus and have it be something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the word leadership twice so far, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up more,
Yeah.
because we definitely talk about this experience as really building that. But tell us what you think and what our approach is about leadership in this fellowship, and how it also doesn't necessarily mean leadership doesn't necessarily mean a management job, because I
Yeah.
think people sometimes get those two confused.
Sure. I mentioned this a bit in my intro, but in case just to double down on it, and in case
Yeah.
you didn't hear the intro. So I think sometimes in the past, people have thought of leadership being a title or being a jerky boss. We've all had those, right? Um,
Not me.
and that, no, okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, really? Okay, you're unusual. Uh, that's not what we mean. Our definition of leadership is taking the initiative to make things better.
Yeah.
It is that the status quo is not okay. It's not enough. It's not good enough. That you see that, and journalism is a fabulous, messy field that needs a lot of help. And what are things that you see that you believe you could make better? And not just as a concept, like, oh, I'm the City Hall reporter in Bakersfield, and I think I would like to solve the financing model for journalism. How does that work? Use your experience that you've had in journalism as a basis for what you want to do next. How do you want to take that forward? So leadership is being a change agent. It's taking the initiative. We see leaders who are not in any management role. You could be in a management role. That's helpful. Sometimes you can have more impact that way, but you don't have to be. So it could be certainly people who are reporters or who are artists who are taking the initiative to make things better for the ecosystem.
Yes, and I think
Newsroom and your community.
and the application really allows you the opportunity to talk about the areas of leadership that you're really proud of and that you really want to celebrate, things that you've accomplished, things that you've led, but also the areas that you want to improve upon so that, again, as we design the program, we can add components of and skills that are going to make you even a better and stronger leader.
I see a question that I would like to answer. That's
Okay.
they're coming in. Somebody said, if you applied before, is it worth applying again? Yes. Yes, and here's our yes, and. So we have more than we would love to give fellowships to more people than we can every year. There's great candidates, and it's really hard on the final day on the selection because we have more great people than spots. So there are times, yes, you definitely should consider applying again if you apply, and especially as you're getting anytime. But if you got to a interview stage or you got to a high stage, definitely consider applying again. But don't just dust off your old application. So in a year later, you're going to be changing. Maybe the world has changed. The things that have happened to you are going to inform your thinking have changed. So think about what you would want to do with how do you want to improve your application. You could talk to one of us about getting advice and feedback if you did not get the application and you as a fellowship. So definitely consider it is not a black mark that you didn't get it and you try to apply again. We have had in every class for decades at least one and sometimes two and occasionally three people who are in on their second or their third try. So persistence is a great journalism value.
And I think even the way that we put the cohort together, it's a combination. So sometimes it isn't necessarily about rejecting a person or their idea. It's how
Right.
to fit in the cohort and what we see kind of emerging.
Yeah, there could be a number of reasons why you didn't get it if you got really close. And yeah, one is that we aren't going to have, probably 5 people from New York City or something. We are building a cohort, we are, but also maybe you just aren't quite ready, and there's some things you could do to be a better applicant the next year. But it doesn't mean that you are rejected because everything's wrong. It's not, that's not the case.
Great. And
Yeah.
these two questions kind of tie in together because they're specifically about the application.
Okay.
First is if I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to do this, should I still apply? And a specific question about reference, I'm sorry, about the samples, work samples, and what happens if they're in another language. So,
Okay. Okay. So let's take the second one first. That's pretty easy. So if your work samples are in a different language, we can't read them. So please either have a summary translation or a translation of them so that we can read them. If you aren't 100% sure, I guess it depends on what percentage you are sure that you want to apply. I don't know what's behind the question about the uncertainty. I mean, we live in uncertain times, right? So I would say you should certainly apply if you're thinking, I think I really might want to do this. I would not, I would decide as you're going through this, if you are not going to do it, pull out. If you don't think that's the year for
I
you.
think in this particular question, it's also tied to work, whether work is going to allow them.
Oh, if work is going to allow you. So that is a tricky one because
Right.
so everybody's case is individual. You're going to need to work that out with your organization on whether you want to stay, and if you do, what kind of arrangement can you work out with your organization to you make a case to bring back to them learnings that you've had at Stanford, and maybe there's some way to do that. But you do need to be ready if you are offered the fellowship to accept or not, to accept it, because we don't want you to get down to the very end. You go, you know what? Actually, I can't do it because we have put a lot of energy into selecting you and we're ready for you. So you're going to need to be ready by then.
Now, the samples.
Okay. Oh, I did that first.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, you did.
I did it in reverse order. Yeah.
Yes. So,
Okay.
what about folks that are behind the scenes, editors, folks who are not necessarily in front of the camera or that are doing digital product? If they have a vision or they have some ideas, are they eligible to apply?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
No, it doesn't, you don't need to be an on stage, on screen. An editor, certainly, there are definitely, and people doing graphics and, yeah, audio, all kinds of things. So,
Yeah, and they're not really, it's not, the question here is about whether they're at a disadvantage if they're producers, editors compared to people that are not.
I mean, it really, make the case for why this is going to be good for you and for journalism.
Very good. All right, another question. Does JSK look for fellows who have reached a certain point in their careers, or do you want a cohort to have a range of professional experience?
Yes and yes. I'd say that it's the fellowship. We do ask you to have, 5 years experience, because at that point and beyond, you're going to get more out of this experience and you're going to give more to the cohort. So if you're too close, if we love young people, but if you're too close out of school, this is not going to be, you're not going to get the most out of this experience. So you definitely need to have some work and life under your belt before you apply. But we do have a range of experience levels within every class. And I think it's really helpful because some of the people who are on the newer end of experience are going to come with new ideas and more experience with tools that maybe some of the people who are more experienced are not as used to. And some of the people who are more experienced are going to have some wisdom to bring to the room about their experience in a newsroom or in an organization and managing difficult conversations and those kind of things. So it is a range. We don't have there's not a one thing we're looking for, but you do need some experience to be able to be selected.
Yeah, I mean, the cohort experience is so important for the entire fellowship that we really look for that right mix of people. And I think it's always wonderful when the fellows come here. How did you pick this group? How did you know that we would work together or get along so well? And I think it's part of that, the steps that we take to really kind of bring that together.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had one more thing I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
When you asked about, just reminded me, sorry, about behind the scenes people. One of the things that happens sometimes is people will ask us, well, I don't have a work sample. I don't have a story to show you because I am doing, I'm an editor, I'm doing strategy, whatever. So you could submit a memo and not a work sample. I mean, that would be your work sample, is a memo on, how did you approach this project? Or, it could be web design, it could be a strategy for your newsroom. So we get a lot of questions. And so you can submit a memo as your work sample.
Great. Yeah, because the question was if their work is confidential and it's behind the scenes, what would they be able to submit? So I think your point about the memo is.
Yeah, great.
Okay, let's see here. Another question. Is there a problem with contacting scholars before applying in order to explore the possibility of working with them? And I assume these are folks that are already at Stanford, right?
No, it's not a problem. I think it's a good idea if you are looking to see who might be at Stanford that you'd want to meet and talk with, scholars, researchers. I think some people have really had a great successful fellowship by doing that in advance and before, so it informs their application. I've been talking to this professor and interested in knowing more about their work as how it applies to my path in journalism and the field. And then you might hit the ground running a little bit faster by having contacts that you made already. So that's totally fine.
Great. Yeah. All right. So they start, it's the end of the fellowship. The question
that was fast. They started.
and we'll come back to more questions.
Okay.
But this is a question related to what do we expect at the end of the fellowship for fellows? And so the question specifically is, yes, what are the perspectives on the end of the fellowship expectations?
Yeah. So this I will say frustrates people sometimes. So I'm just going to put that out there right now. It is very unlikely that you will tie up your focus of what you want to work in a nice little bow and be all done in May at the end of your 9 months. What we expect, I'll kind of do the bigger expectation. What we expect is you to be engaged, to be collaborative, to be seizing the opportunities, this gift of a fellowship, and to be exploring what you came to explore, or you may find something different that is more important and compelling to you, and that's okay. That's also okay. You can change your focus. And then by the end, you're going to have done some tiny experiments. You're going to have done some work with some faculty, with your fellows, so that you have an idea of where you might want to take this idea going forward. So at the end, you're going to be ready to step out into the world and pursue this. And it could take a little longer than, it could be another 6 months or a year or 18 months before you may realize that vision and that dream. Or it could be earlier, but it is not an expectation that you're all done at the end. One of the things too, it's a lot of issues in journalism and one person is not going to solve it on their own. So collaboratively, thinking about how you're going to use what you've gained from the year to move forward.
Yeah, and they then become alumni. And so they become a part of the alumni network, which I think is an important component for continuing that bond, not only with JSK, but with each other. They end up working together, hiring each other, learning from each other. And so it really, that continued community adds another layer to the fellowship experience. So like you said,
Right.
the first year on campus is really just the first year of the entire relationship you're going to have with JSK.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Alberto. It's something that I think is also unique about our program and maybe a couple of our cousin programs, is that our investment in you begins with your fellowship year, and we really intentionally, very intentionally select the class. And so we're picking people we are going to want to have in our community and be proud of for decades to come. So there are just, hundreds of people who've been through this program who have a great connection, and we're invested in helping you succeed beyond the year at Stanford, because that's where JSK and you are going to have impact in the world.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about some of our alumni, they're listed. There's some highlighted alumni in our website, and so look
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's a question about, does JSK research applicants on the internet?
Oh, sure. Sure. We look up who you are.
Journalists, come on. We do our homework too.
Yeah. It's like, who is this person? What have they done? Oh, yes. Sure.
Cool. Question on, I guess, part of our routine. Is the fellowship commitment generally Monday through Friday?
So let's talk about what it's like and the timing. So we get together twice a week as a cohort. Right now it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. It could change, but we twice a week, 3 times a week. And we will rarely have things on a weekend. So it's generally in the Monday through Friday. There could be a weekend event, but it would be rare.
Yeah, and we say the what we pay for you to for what we pay as a stipend is really kind of consider your salary. And
Yeah.
so your priority should be and needs to be the fellowship. And so we work on the entire experience being one that includes a schedule that could be more than Monday through Friday. But that's really kind of what this is about. It isn't so that you come here Tuesday, Thursday, but you're still doing other work on the side. That doesn't really work because people aren't really presently here, right?
Yeah, it would be a real it'd be a real shame that you did not use the year to be present, and it's not what we want. Um, there are, we have family, things you need to deal with, and but what we want you to be is a full-time fellow, and that you're using, opening yourself up to the cohort, to the experience, to Stanford. The get-togethers are just our formal get-togethers. Fellows get together other times. This current class is fantastic. They're all fantastic. This current class has already got themselves they have a share lab, they're calling it, and they're meeting once a week on their own to share ideas and questions. So that's another event. And then you're working and meeting people on campus. So it's not just the twice a week. It's definitely a full-time experience.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question here about a higher up at my organization is on the JSK board. They
Oh,
aren't my direct supervisor, and I don't have a regular interactions with them. Would this be considered a conflict of interest?
no.
Simple.
Yeah. Our board is not selecting our fellows, and it's great that they're on our board.
Yeah. I think that leads me to kind of the question about asking alumni or talking to folks who know about the program.
Yeah.
Culturally speaking, I know that sometimes I've dealt with kind of a little bit fearful of asking others about, being a reference or even being able to put a good word for me or even just not even ask me about the program, even if I know about it. I think they're afraid that it's going to affect their chances or they don't want to bother me. In this particular case, with alumni really providing such great insight as to what their experience was like, I encourage them to really talk to alumni even before they apply so they know what this experience is like. Even if it's different every year, it's still at the core very, very much the same. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's one of my tips we're going to give you a little later is talk to alumni. So if you don't know any alumni, if you know an alumni, great, talk to them. If you don't, look on our website. We have a list of alumni on our website going back. Ask them about the experience. So we do evolve every year. So some things do change. So just know that there could be something that changes on, in our programming or what we do on campus. But the core qualities of a great fellow are the same. And our core experience and our values of who we are the same. So, curiosity and flexibility, respect for others, a deep commitment to journalism and transforming journalism. So definitely don't be afraid to talk to alumni. You'll get a good sense of, and I bet you most alumni are going to go, great, I want to talk about it. Yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you about my experience. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is that aspect of generosity and community continues. And so when you do ask someone who wants to be a part of that, most of the time they're absolutely, the only thing that gets in the way sometimes is schedule. But
Yeah.
I think the will to talk to folks who want to apply is always very, very excited.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question on the program's effectiveness with someone on the visual end of journalism, editors, videographers, or photographers.
I mean, we specifically look for, solicit, are interested in visual journalists in our program. I'm going to say that twice.
Yes.
We are specifically interested in visual journalists in our program. I think you bring so much to the table, and every year we have various people from different kinds of visual journalism, whether it's photography, photojournalism, political cartooning, other areas. So I really encourage you to apply. I encourage you to look at some of the alumni who've been programmed in our fellowship here over the past years, doing really important, impactful work in visual journalism. So please apply.
Yeah, and I think if you do your research, you can see that we consistently have visual journalists a part of the cohort. They just also add so much. So it's
I think the question was, how effective is the program? Yes, it is good for you. It's good for someone who is more of a word person.
But the effectiveness, frankly, I mean, that word doesn't really apply to me in part because so much of it is what you make out of this experience, right? It's really about here's the framework, but if this experience doesn't work, a lot of times it just wasn't something that you maximized.
Well, and maybe behind the question, I'm guessing here, is a little bit of in the past and maybe still in some newsrooms, right? Is that visual journalists and visual journalism is an afterthought. And the focus has always been in the past on, the print, the word. And that's just not the case. And so definitely part of this program where we want you to be here.
Okay. There's another question on work samples. And can you submit older work samples?
Well, yes, but, and yes, and, if it's something that's really important to your career and that formed you, that would be okay. But we'd like to have more recent, to get a sense of what you're doing now. So it could be a combination.
Now, what is the selection timeline?
Oh God, I have to look at my calendar. No, we are, obviously applications are open now, 3 weeks till the deadline. Yep. And then real people will be reading your applications. And then we narrow down the pool of applications and we are having alumni and all kinds of folks reading them. So we will be doing interviews in the spring and selecting in the spring. I think it's either late April or early May.
Okay. Yeah. And people will have communication along the way as well.
Oh yeah. So we definitely are in touch with you to let you know where you stand all along the way. So it's not like the big reveal, yes or no at the end. You're going to know where you stand.
Yep. Okay. Is there a problem if my focus idea is entrepreneurial?
No.
Right? I'm surprised that didn't come up sooner,
I was
actually.
like, I don't know why that's a problem. No.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. Are fellows encouraged to collaborate with other Stanford centers? Oop, it just moved. Or professors outside of JSK?
Say it again. Are there?
Are fellows encouraged to collaborate with other Stanford centers or professors outside of JSK?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. We are, we're small. The number of us, there's 9 of us on our team. Um, it's a big campus. There's 100 research centers. We send a letter out from me every year at the beginning to hundreds of faculty saying, here are the amazing new JSK fellows for the year. Please reach out to them, invite them, welcome them to your classes. They might come reach out to you for a coffee. We hope you say yes to that. So there's definitely, it's not just us. We are providing programming and coaching and all of that. And this is your home base, the JSK fellowship offices, but the campus is your oyster.
Great. Going back to the application itself, because I've talked to some folks who, after they wanted some feedback, and then when I look back at their application, I realized that they didn't list things that I knew they had accomplished,
Yeah.
or they answered questions with a couple of sentences. And, one particular person said that they didn't want to brag. It felt really awkward to brag. And they thought they just wanted to get to the point. And I thought, well, you just missed an opportunity for us to really know more about you.
Yes.
What is your opinion on that?
Yeah. So a couple things. Short answers to questions I'm so disappointed when I read that. I'm like, oh, tell us more. Let us use the space that we give you to tell us the answers to these questions and who you are. Let us give us a window into who you are. So that's one thing. And occasionally people won't answer a question. I'm always wondering why, so don't leave us wondering why. Tell us all you can tell us. As far as the not bragging, so it's sometimes cultural. It's sometimes, as journalists, you don't talk about yourself. You're used to talking about other people and telling their stories and not your own story. This is a time for you to sit down and maybe sit down with a good friend and say, here's my application. What am I missing? And they would say, you didn't talk about that amazing project that you did or that initiative that you led. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, let us know those things about you. So do brag a little and do think about how to help us understand who you are in the whole so that we can get a better vision. So yes.
And adding to that, I've also had applicants who didn't really add didn't add anything but their personality and who they are. They kind of kept everything very much just the answers to the question. How much personal stuff should they include in this?
So we're not only building a class, but we're going to spend the year with you. We would like to know more about you as a person in addition to your journalism. So, and your life informs your journalism, right? I think for just about anybody, journalism is personal because why did you get into this field? Why did you become a journalist? We'd like to know that because that informs your interest in what you're working on. So it's not a, sterile, just answer the facts questions with facts. It's, and I would say also, I guess on the flip side is it needs to be about journalism. So if it's only about your personal interior life, maybe that's not what we want either. But tell us why you became a journalist and how your current life experience is affected by that.
Yeah, and as we talked earlier, it's kind of if you weave in the narrative is
Yeah.
put together by why you're doing this, what motivated you, giving us context as to what's happening in your community,
Yeah.
and how this is really going to help make a difference.
Yeah.
It really should include those personal components of drive and passion.
Yeah. Community is a really good point too, Alberto. So when you're proposing your focus and you're talking in your application, it shouldn't be in a vacuum. It shouldn't be like, I'm interested in this topic X. I've never really worked on it, or it's not relevant to me or my community, but I'm just interested. It's not, so we're not right, we're not having fellows do research projects on an academic white paper kind of basis. This is really about something that affects you, your community, your newsroom, that you feel like you're bringing yourself and your experiences to.
Okay, here's a question. Has the fellowship ever included any journalists from youth media organizations or fellows with a focus on pathways for new journalists or the ecosystem of youth serving media outlets?
Yes. Do you know who I'm thinking about, Alberto?
Lead New Orleans for what?
Yeah, Lead New Orleans. We have had two fellows from Lead New Orleans, which is an amazing organization in New Orleans, helping young people tell their stories and get into journalism. And so that's exactly as the questioner is describing it. Yes, we have.
Great. I have a question here about the possibility. Let's see. Is it possible to have a very specific focus or challenge, or does this need to be more broad?
You need to have a specific focus. If it's, I'm just interested in it, it's not a topic, it's a focus. So that's the difference I would think about as you're preparing to do your application.
Yeah. And if it's also, and the tricky part to that is if you need to come here with a focus and the year will help you answer questions. If
Yeah.
you've already built in your answer to what you want to do, then that is a grant and that you can apply for a grant directly. So part of this experience is really gathering more information to not really to just really maximize that opportunity to see all the possible solutions, not just I've already solved what I need to do, and I'm here to just go through the motions.
Yeah, if you have the answer to your question already, you don't need us. What this is about is being a JSK fellow at Stanford is having the time and support and space to explore better answers to your questions. So I think many of us in journalism are used to quickly getting things done and getting the answer. And so this is going to be a little bit different, and that you're stepping back and think about, but the why. What are better solutions to the question that you're trying to solve? So that's what we're going to help you with here at Stanford, and you're going to find. So it's not a grant. I mean, I did mention earlier, and I'll just we're saying this is not a solitary experience. It's not where you're working on a grant by yourself or you're writing a book. There are fellowships for that, but that's not us. So just know that it's really a cohort experience and not something where you're up by yourself in an ivory tower.
All right, the last two questions I have, and I'll just give them to you both so you can kind of combine them. One, is there an advantage to my focus is if my focus is on tech or science? And the other one is, are there specific requirements for independent freelance journalists?
Okay, start with the first one again. Is there
an advantage to my focus
Advantage.
being tech or science?
No. I would just say, so sometimes there's a misunderstanding of, okay, we are a program at Stanford, and Stanford happens to be in Silicon Valley, and it certainly informs, the community and the campus. We're not a technology focused. We're not a technology fellowship. We are a fellowship focused on leadership and innovation and resilience in journalism. Innovation does not equal technology. There are fantastic technological innovations, and that if that's something that you wanted to work on, that's certainly possible. But it's not an advantage to be like, I need to be a science and tech person or have that as my focus, so I'll get the fellowship. The other thing to say about that is your focus that you come with is not really the only thing that's going to get you the fellowship. So certainly we'd like you to have thought about your focus, how it relates to your past work and what you want in the future. Certainly it's important, but the whole package of you is important. What do you want to do in the years ahead in your career? What kind of help do you need to do that? And so it's not that you're going to ace it by having the perfect project or focus idea.
And the last question briefly on freelancers, and are there any specific requirements for independent freelance journalists? And that'll be the last one.
Specific requirements for freelance journalists? We have had freelance journalists in our program almost every year that I can think of. You need to be working. So someone needs to be, publishing your work or it being presented somewhere. So it's not like it's some kind of a hobby. But we've had freelance journalists as well. Yeah. I see one more.
You want to add
Yeah.
it?
If you could name one thing that I'm just looking at my phone here. If you could name one thing that surprises most fellows when they arrive at Stanford, what would that be? I would say, okay, there's two. I could do one. So one would be, it does take people a little time to transition from the go of, transitioning from your past life to your Stanford life. And so we help you with that. And so you may need to, it's a chance to pause and think about what you want to do next. And so sometimes that transition takes a little bit longer than you might think. I think the other is, okay, that the campus, there's so much here. It's kind of mind-boggling how much is possible on this campus for you to explore. And the third is how close you get with your cohort. Yeah, I didn't think about actually, and especially international fellows. When I was a fellow, the thing that I should have said earlier, mentioned to me, your question about my fellowship year was, I didn't really think about this until I was there, about the value and what I was going to learn from journalists from around the world, who, for them, journalism is a lot harder than in the United States in many cases. And what they go through and the bravery and the resilience that they bring was impressive and was empowering for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I would add that, for one, I guess I'm surprised how much trauma journalists come
Mm.
here with, and what happens to the body when you're no longer in that immediate space of trauma is really fascinating to see how even the shoulders, all these things just really physically transform someone in a really good way. But it definitely has this decompression element. And then the thing that I think is just beautiful is, especially when the cohort gets started, that they get to connect on such an intimate, personal level about why they became journalists. It
Mhm.
reminds really people, all the stuff that have happened, all the things that they've dealt with, all of a sudden brings them back to that core feeling of why they do this important work. And it is just a beautiful thing to just kind of almost like a collective group hug in a weird way. But it's so
Yeah,
cool to
yeah.
see that.
No, that's really true. Both those things are true. Okay, great. Well, thank you for your questions. We are going to go into some tips now, I believe, on how to do a great JSK application. Okay, here's some important tips. I'm going to run through these with a little bit of advice for you. So one, do not procrastinate. You have only 3 weeks left. So you should have started, or if you hadn't, start today. Give yourself the best possible chance by working on it now. Spend some time thinking about it. Don't wait until the last minute because it shows. Why JSKs and Stanford and JSK are right for you. Let us know. Don't assume we know why you think that the fellowship is important for you. Be authentic. Be who you are. Don't try to game or guess what we want. We want to know who you are, what your passions are. Tell us your story, celebrate your wins, explain the challenges that you overcame to be a journalist today. And then know who we are. So we have a lot of information on our website. The Become a Fellow page is very rich. There's this video, but there's other videos. We did an earlier webinar with more questions answered. There's Medium posts with our alumni, and actually this current class is already starting to post their Medium posts of their exploration. So know who we are. Talk to alumni. We mentioned that earlier. Look on the website if you don't know somebody and ask them about what it was like so you can have a better sense. And do know that sometimes things do change a little bit, but not a ton. We're still curious. We want people who are curious and flexible and committed to reimagining and transforming journalism. And finally, beat the deadline. Okay, that seems kind of obvious. And as journalists, you all know about deadlines. Do not wait until the final hours to apply. We get some sad stories, a handful of them usually, about people not being able to upload their video because they waited till like 1 minute before the deadline and, their computer froze or internet went out or, whatever. So don't wait till beat the deadline. Do it a little bit earlier. Okay. And I think last, just speaking of deadlines, it's Wednesday, December 3rd, 1 p.m. Pacific time, and we do not accept late applications, no matter your sad story. Okay, so open an application began. There is a QR code there and a bit.ly. So if you are watching this live or after watching this recorded after, you can take a picture of that on your phone and to get more information and start your application. Okay, this has been really fun, Alberto.
Yeah, actually went very fast.
Really good, really good. I am going to just say a couple last words here. So do not miss this opportunity. Your future self is going to thank you that you applied for this program. And if you're worried that you won't get in, I can guarantee you this. If you don't apply, you won't get in. So apply, really. And we really hope you do. Your application is going to be read carefully by real people, our managing directors, our alumni. It's real people. We're not just doing this by machine. We will select a small number of applicants to interview. Not everybody gets an interview, so just know that does not happen. And then we'll offer and announce our fellowships in the spring. So if you have a passion for reimagining journalism, we want to help you to be the best candidate possible. So do all the things that we just talked about and the tips and read our website, talk to alumni. And if you're here at this webinar or listening later, you're eligible, we encourage you to apply. You can follow the links around to our application. We've got FAQs.
Lots of information.
Yeah, we are at JSK at Stanford everywhere. Follow us on social media for more information. And thank you for attending. And if you have other questions you thought of later and were too shy to put in the box, you can email us at jskfellowships@stanford.edu, and we do answer those questions. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to reading your application. Bye.
Bye, everybody.